Okay, everybody, good morning and hello. I am Miss Glasgow and I'm one of the school counselors here at RE Mountain. And today we are going to be going through course planning. So you are all in grade 10 and you're planning to go into grade 11. So we need to review some of the options for courses for you and a little bit about what that process looks like. So before we do get started, I just want to acknowledge where our school is situated and that we are honored to work and learn on the traditional and unceded territories of the Matsqui, Kwantlen, Katzie, and Semiahmoo First Nations. We've got a big team of people here at RE Mountain and to help you with your course planning. So we've got 5 counselors and hopefully you've met your counselors, but if you haven't, this slide shows you that we've actually got all of our students that we work with by last name. So Mr. Jermaine Kemp works with students last names A to DA. So that's just beginning spelling of your last name. Miss Barirani, she works with students last name starting with DE to J. And then myself, Miss Glasgow, I work with students that have last names K to ME. And Miss Sarah Michael works with students last names MI to SE. And last but not least, Miss Janice Babalos works with students that have last names SI to Z. So look for whoever has your last name assigned to them, and that would be your person to reach out to if you need support with your course planning, or if you just need help in general with anything else. We also have Mr. Victor Kai, who's our IB coordinator. And if you come into the counseling office to book an appointment, you'll meet Miss Meenakshi Kelsey, who's our counseling office assistant. We also have a wonderful team of people, including our youth care workers, Aboriginal support workers, and career advisors. So we have 3 youth care workers, Tristan, Brooks, and Karen. You can find them up in the Aboriginal support room, which is also where Breakfast Club happens. And then we have Jen Forlin and Kayla Ego, who are our 2 Aboriginal support workers at the school, and they're located in the same space in the Aboriginal support room. We also have 2 career advisors down at the bottom there, Yvonne McNabb and Colleen Hansen. So our career advisors are in room 1152, which I'll show you on the next slide. And they are able to help you with a lot of amazing things like finding volunteer opportunities, career advice, even if you're interested in a train and trades program, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. So what are we going to go through today in this presentation? I know we've got limited time, but we are going to talk a little bit about what graduation looks like. I'll touch on university and college admissions, even though you don't have to do a lot of planning for that yet. We'll talk about trades programs, course planning in general, and all the courses you can choose, as well as how to enter your course selections. Before we get there, I just want to prepare you for the fact that next year, when you're in grade 11, the school day starts at 8 a.m. So most students will have a class in A block. You might have seen grade 11s and 12s starting their day like that this year. So for you next year, most of you will have a class in A block and it'll alternate every other day. So you won't have to come at 8 a.m. every day, but you will be starting your day at that time. Just in general, graduation requirements include lots of courses in grade 10, 11, and 12. So this is the most important thing that we're really focused on for you. It's really just making sure that you're meeting those minimum graduation requirements and getting all the basic academics that you need, as well as exploring some different elective classes, and then ultimately planning for post-secondary or for what you're going to do outside of high school. So you can see that there's a selected amount of grade 10 needed. And as you get into the higher grade levels, you actually have less and less required courses, which means way more choice for you with what you're interested in taking. Please note, you also do have to take 1 fine art or ADST course, 1 course that has an Indigenous focus like English or social studies, and then you have to do some assessments, both in grade 10 and in grade 12. So for planning after high school, there's lots of different directions that your life might go. So you may get a job right away, which is amazing. You might decide to pursue trades or technical studies, or you might actually want to go to a college or university. So all these options are great options. It really just depends on what's best for you at that time in your life. So I'm going to show you a little bit about some of the options, and then hopefully that will help you start to think about that much of the planning right now. So if you are curious about post-secondary stuff and you're starting to wonder what's even out there for me, what kinds of courses or programs exist, because I only know about a few basic things, there's a really, really good website called Education Planner BC. You can make an account on there at any time. And with Education Planner, you can actually search for different types of topics like nursing or computer programming, and you can see what types of career paths there are, as well as what schools offer programs. So this is a really good place to start if you're curious or you just want to see what types of careers or jobs are out there in the world, just to give yourself a little bit of an understanding of what exists, because there's a lot of options in life, and it's nice for you to start thinking about that. Um, Another thing is when we talk about post-secondary, I just want you to have this information now so you're aware that every post-secondary institution, like a college or university, is going to have really general admission requirements. So these are kind of like a ticket through the door, just in general, of what you would need. For example, you always need to have an English 12 course to graduate and to get into a post-secondary. They also will almost always want you to have a math and a science course at the grade 11 or 12 level. And then they usually also ask for a minimum amount of approved academic courses, as well as a minimum average, let's say 80% or 70%. Right. So these are kind of basic requirements that most schools do want you to have. So it varies from school to school, and I'll show you a few examples as we move forward. But just keep in mind that essentially most students need these basic things. Um, we've got like some differentiation with general requirements versus a specific program and the requirements that are needed. So let's say you wanted to get into university and they say, okay, we have to have an English 12, got to do your literacy 12 assessment, and then you need 3 grade 12 academic courses. But on top of that, they might say, we also have specific requirements for this one program that you're applying to. So I'll show you an example of that as we move forward, but just keep in mind that it's not like you need just these certain courses and you can get into any school or any program. They vary based on topic, like science versus art versus engineering. So I just want you to be aware of that as well. And this is why it can be helpful to start thinking about what topics you're interested in, just because that might guide your course selection. University versus college is also different. So you don't need to know all this stuff right now, but it's just good for you to know that if you're applying to a place like SFU when you're in grade 12, that they might have different requirements than a school like Langara or Douglas College. So again, these are conversations we start to have with students when they're in grade 11 and then in grade 12. And we just want you to know that there's a lot of different options and a lot of different requirements. So it's not a bad idea to really check these things instead of making assumptions if you're starting to go down that path of planning. I did want to include examples, concrete examples for you. And the reason why I chose UBC as a very concrete example is because it's one of our local schools that has the most specific and competitive requirements. So what I mean by that is that you can see on this slide, not only are they asking for English 12 and the Literacy 12 assessment, but they're also saying that if you're applying to something like a science program, right, to do a Bachelor of Science, they want you to have pre-calculus 11 and 12, chemistry 11, physics 11, one science 12 of your choice, and then 3 other approved grade 12 academic courses. So that's a pretty big list of requirements. Other universities for a science program may have 3 or 4 required courses, but not 6 like UBC. So I just want you to know that it varies. And then in comparison, if you wanted to study art at UBC, which could include things like psychology or English, their requirements are a little less specific, right? So they're asking you for English 12, but then they also say, we'll accept 5 other approved grade 12 academic courses. So that could be like social studies classes. It could be a math 12 or a science 12 as well. But you can see how it's not as specific depending on the program. So we're going to move into train and trades. You might be aware that at RE Mountain, we actually have the opportunity for you to apply to programs where you can get credit and actually have a program paid for to learn skills in a trade. So I'm going to show you some examples of what those trades might be, but this is a really, really awesome opportunity because the cost of tuition gets covered for you for the most part through the school district. And then you also get to, for most of these programs, get credit towards your high school graduation and actually do some of your final semesters in grade 12 at a post-secondary school. So it's kind of a cool way for you to move forward in your future plans while still accomplishing graduation. So some examples of trades programs we've got are on this slide here. Things like our hairstylist program, professional cook, piping, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, auto service tech, horticulture, which is like landscape and gardening, and then welding, which was new last year. So if you're interested in this, the career advisors are the people to talk to in room 1152. Or you can reach out to your counselor. We would be super happy to give you a little bit of information and help you get going on applying to one of these if you're interested. So as I mentioned, the career advisors are the people who have the most knowledge about these programs. They would give you a form to apply, and just a heads up, those applications actually start happening now and they're due the end of March. And then there is an interview process for these. And the programs start kind of on different times of year, different dates. So it just really depends on which program you've applied to and what you would be accepted into. But it's a really, really exciting opportunity. And if you're at all interested in something like this, rather than pursuing like a regular degree at a post-secondary institution, or maybe getting a job right away, like this is kind of a combination of those two things where you can really set yourself up with an amazing career. One other thing we also have in the school district is youth work and trades. So this is also something where you can get credits to graduation for completing like a paid apprenticeship work, and you'd be supervised by a tradesperson. So if this is something you might be interested in, you can also receive credits towards graduation and potentially get a scholarship. So the career advisor is the right person to talk to for this as well. And lastly, when it comes to extra ways to get credit, we also have a lot of different options for you. So taking classes is not the only way to get credit. You can do a language challenge exam. And every November, we have an application process for that. Mr. Kemp is the counselor to help you. And then you would write an exam in January. So that's a way to get credit for a grade 11 or 12 level language that you speak other than English. And it can really help a lot of students with having extra courses for graduation that might help them get into a post-secondary program. We also have other things you might do outside of school that you could get credit for, like the Royal Conservatory of Music. If you play on a sports team that's at a provincial or national level. If you're in cadets, if you do first aid or life saving, or even if you do driver's lessons through ICBC, you can submit those documents to the counseling department and we can look at them and hopefully give you credit. So we are about halfway through and I'm just going to run through course planning because I know this is generally why we're here. We really want to figure out what our courses are going to be for next year. A couple things before we start. We build our school's timetable based on how you fill out your course planning. So we want to make sure if you really, really want to take a course like Black Studies, right, which is one of our social studies, pick it because then we'll run it, right? If we've got enough students to take specific classes, then they can run, right? So if we don't have enough students saying that they want to take vegan food studies, then it might not run. So I just really want you to be aware that it's important to choose what you're interested in, because that helps us build the timetable. As you know, we can't guarantee every single choice that you put as your top choice for classes. We try our best, but it's really important for you to list alternates, because then that way we're not going to put you in a class that you're unhappy with, right? We want to make sure that you get something that you would be okay taking. So please put those alternates in. We also encourage you to take a full 8 courses. Very rarely are people eligible for study blocks in grade 11. So I'm going to talk about that requirement later, but please choose the full 8 courses as we're asking you to. And then if you have an incomplete timetable when you get your when you get your timetable in August, we will take a look at any course change requests and try and fix those schedules. But for the most part, because our schedule is so complex with this school, we may not be able to make course change requests that are just changing an elective that you're not really sure you want to take. So I just want to set that expectation with you, that when we do course change requests, it's really just for things that are major issues before the school year starts. Okay, so we've got required courses for the BC graduation diploma. So I've gone through this a little bit earlier in the presentation, but I just want you to see this overview again, that you've got required courses in grade 10, 11, 12. And then you also have quite a bit of choice. So you have a total of 7 courses that you would be able to take that are up to you, right? They can be electives, they can be more academics. You really get a lot more flexibility as you move through grade 11 and 12. So everybody has to take English 11, a social studies 11 or 12. At our school, it'll be a grade 12 level, a science 11 and a math 11. But there aren't a lot of other specific requirements in grade 11 after that. So I'll show you all the examples of courses you can take, but just keep in mind that this is really your year to spread your wings and try some different things that you're interested in. On our on our school website, we have this amazing 1-page document that shows everything that you can take, all on 1 page. So I love this because I find it really just tells me all the things I need to know. So on the front side of the document, you can see all the required courses at the top, and then you see all the different courses you can choose underneath. And then on the second page of the document, where that red circle is, this highlights all the different outside the timetable courses, as well as any of the courses you have to apply to. So we do have courses outside the timetable, and we do have courses that are inside the timetable that require an application form. So you might be familiar with some of those, and I'll show you on our slides in a minute that because we're such a big school, we have so much to offer. There are certain courses that you have to express interest in by like filling out a form and making sure that you actually apply to it before submitting your request in MyEd, right? We want you to be able to do both and let us know why you want to take those courses. So this document tells you which courses you need to do the application form for. It's also visible on MyEd, which I'll show you, but just, yeah, keep this in mind, and you can look at this online. We also have copies of this in the Counseling Center. For courses outside the timetable, I've covered most of these points, but just keep in mind that they do count for credit as well, and they're not a club or extracurricular, right? Like these are actual courses that you're going to be showing up for, just like you would for a regular class within your timetable. So we're going to run through all the different academic courses we have, and I just want to be clear that these academics are based on post-secondary considerations. So a school like UBC or UVic says that English is an academic class. So that's how I've divided these in the presentation. Anything that's academic by university standards is what I'm calling academic here. So for English 11, you've got 5 choices, including your English First Peoples 11, where you can get that Indigenous credit that you need. And then for social studies, we actually have a huge list of social studies courses you can take. at RE Mountain, you only have to take a Social Studies 12. So we actually don't have a Socials 11 course. We only do Socials 12. So most of our grade 11 students have Socials 12 in their schedule for their grade 11 year. You can take more than one, you can take more in grade 12, but you have to take at least one of these courses. So there's a list of required courses. So that would be like 20th century world history or law studies or perhaps genocide. We also have a new course that we've added, Contemporary Indigenous Studies 12. And then for the elective social studies, we have Black Studies, Criminology, and Psychology. So those are choice socials. They're not going to meet the grad requirement. So you still have to take one of the ones from the list on the left. But keep in mind, you can take more than one. And it's just a really good opportunity to explore a lot of different topics, right? Because we have such a wealth of knowledge with all of our teachers at the school who teach these subjects. For science, we do have to have students take a Science 11 to graduate. So you can take your pick from this list of which science would be the right fit for you. And you can take more than one, right? So a lot of students like to take multiple sciences, especially if they're interested in maybe studying that in university one day. So taking one science and then one math for graduation as well. So for math, something to note is that in grade 11, this is the year where math kind of splits for you. So I'm going to show you a little chart here, which might make it more clear. When you're in grade 11, which is the third column over, you're either going to take Foundations of Math 11 or Pre-Calculus 11, or possibly Workplace 11 if you took Workplace 10, or if your math teacher has had a conversation with you about that. So in grade 10, our students took either Workplace Math 10 or Foundations and Pre-Calc 10. This is the time, like I said, where Foundations and Pre-Calc 10, you'll split into two different directions. So if you're not sure about what math to take, this is a really good question for your counselor or your math teacher. If you have a case manager, you can also talk to them about it because we want to help you pick the right math for you. We also have languages as an option. And these are considered academic by universities. So you could take French, Mandarin, or Spanish. And then if you, like many students, didn't take a language in grade 9 or 10, we would love for you to try Intro to Mandarin or Intro to Spanish. And those classes actually give you the opportunity to learn both grade 9 and 10 curriculum all in one. So it's kind of a nice way to get a grade 11 language course if you missed out on that or just decided it's something that you actually do want to do in grade 11. So you don't have to have taken those language courses in the last couple of years. You can just jump in and try the intro class. So now we're moving into non-academic classes, and I think you probably know this. We have a ton to offer. For our PE department, we've got several types of active living, including some that are by application. So that would be things like basketball, volleyball, right? You've got to actually apply for those. And then we also have rugby. So these are like high performance classes, right? That are going to be more challenging. And then we've got fitness and conditioning, two different types of that as well. And for leadership and innovation, we've got things like peer mentoring and link crew and rec leadership. So those three classes you do have to apply for as well. But our regular leadership 11 class is something you don't have to apply to. You can just pick that as a course selection. These are really good ways to get involved in the school community and create relationships with like lots of other students in the school. So keep that in mind if you're kind of looking for that. Those would be like really wonderful classes for you to apply to. We also have our business education. So you could do digital communications, media design, marketing and promotion, or economics. We've got computer programming. And then in our tech ed department, not only do we have things like auto tech, engineering, metalwork, but this year we've got art metal that we're going to be offering, which is exciting. We haven't had that before. And we also have tabletop game theory and design unplugged. So that's another really exciting opportunity if you're interested in tabletop role-playing games. We are offering that course for the first time. One thing I haven't mentioned is on our website, we actually have a course catalog that's like a big PDF you can scroll through. And I'm telling you about this because there's actually descriptions for every single course. So if you're like, well, I would really like to hear what woodwork is all about, you can go to the PDF and you can read the description, just because I want you to be informed. And I know we've got a lot of different course options. So just take the time if you can, look through it, or talk to teachers or your friends and find out what they've tried, because they might also be able to give you some ideas on what you might be interested in. We've got several drama classes. Not only do we have drama inside the timetable, but we also have things like theater companies, so by application and audition. So if you're interested in that, just make sure you're following that process. And for music, not only do we have concert band and jazz band and choir, chamber choir, and concert choir, but we also have contemporary music. So we're running that class again next year. And if you're interested in having a different kind of music experience, that might be something that's for you. So please check out the course description and just, yeah, make sure you're aware of what we're offering. In our art department, we also have lots of our regular kind of art classes like Art Studio, which is all types of art. But this year we're offering Animation 11, which is pretty exciting because we taught that a long time ago at Mountain and haven't had it for a while. We've got things like graphic design and photo, yearbook if you're interested, which is by application, and then ceramics, drawing and painting. We're doing dance company again, and we also have film and television. So again, just so many choices, right? Depending on what you're interested in. I also want to assure you, if you didn't try something like film and television last year, it's okay to take it in grade 11. You don't have to have a prerequisite for any of these classes. So we want you to try new things, right? If you took something last year and it really wasn't for you, try something different this year. Lastly, this is the last slide we've got for courses. In our home economics department. We've got things like regular food studies, but this year we're offering a vegan and plant-based course as well. And then you could also, if you've taken foods before and you're interested in baking, you could try advanced baking techniques. We have interpersonal and family relationships, textiles, and then a brand new course as well called Food Science and Sustainability. So again, tons of choices in home ec. Please ask questions if you're not sure what these are, because we would love for you to take something that's new to you that you're really excited about. So you might be wondering how you're going to balance all your courses, right? Like I know a lot of people feel like grade 11 things start getting pretty intense. And that's right. The courses do get challenging year by year, right? I'm sure this year has felt harder than grade 9. So just keep in mind, if you're interested in a study block, we do have a requirement at our school where we want all of our grade 11 students, as of September, we want them to have 36 credits. So for most of you, that means you would have taken one extra course on top of your regular 8 classes that you took this year in grade 10. So some students have that because they've taken a course in summer school or something like that, but just keep in mind that that's the way you would be eligible for a study block. And so if you think you might need that, then you can ask your counselor about it. But we just really want to make sure that you are getting all the credits and all the courses you need to set you up for graduation where there's no stress and no worry. So that's our reason for having this requirement for study blocks. For the presentation, I just wanted to cover really briefly what it looks like to do your course request in MyEd. So it opens February 3rd, which should be today. And I just want you to know that it closes February 13th. So Friday the 13th, you really need to make sure you've got your selections done by then. And this is the best for you to do on a computer. So don't try and do it on your phone. Use a computer if at all possible. When you log into MyEd, this has got to be your MyEd login with your student number and your password, okay? So most of you can probably do this, but if you need help, you might have to reset your password or go through some troubleshooting. Once you get in there, there's only like 2 clicks to get to the right page. So you have to click on My Info. And then on the left-hand side, you're going to click on requests. So on this page, to make a course selection, it's going to show you on the left-hand side, like a little select button beside every name of every required course you have to take. So for example, English is right at the top. You would click select, and then you would choose from one of the 5 English classes that you have the option of doing in grade 11. And then once you choose it, you're going to see it pops up for you in that list and shows you which one you've picked. So a couple really important things. Not only do you have to pick those core like academic classes, but you do have to choose 2 of your electives. Okay, and then there is a spot for before and after school courses as well if you're choosing something that runs outside the regular timetable. There's also a spot where you have to pick your alternate requests. So don't miss this. If you do, then we don't know what other electives you would be interested in. So we want to make sure that we're putting you in classes that you're okay with taking, right? So please put those alternates in there because we don't want to guess at all, right? We want to make sure that you get things that you're interested in. The other thing is when you're on this page for my ed, right above the area that I have screenshot see right now, but when you're in my ed, you'll see it. There will also be instructions on like how to fill things out. So it should be written up there and explain to you what to do. And there will also be a link for the forms you have to fill out if you're doing any of those application-based classes, right? Like yearbook or link crew, you have to fill out a form. So my ed's going to tell you that you need to do that, but just pay attention because that's where the link is. Once you've entered all your requests, you have to click post. And so I hope you remember that from this presentation. Clicking post is just like clicking save. And if you click post, then it's going to save all the work you did choosing all your courses, and you'll get a little green check mark if it worked. So please, please, please click post. And that should be it for your course selection. So once they're all entered, then your counseling team receives all that information, and then everybody goes to work with trying to build the timetable. So I just want to give you a couple reminders to help everybody with this process, because I know it's a lot of information that I've just shared with you. The most important thing is for you to take this time in the next few weeks to have discussions with your parents at home or your guardians. Also talk to your teachers and ask them questions about courses if they have recommendations, or go and meet a teacher that's teaching a class you might be interested in taking, because they would love to talk to you about what their class is all about. Make sure you add all your courses. Don't forget about those alternates. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to your counselors. We should be available to answer questions. We might not be scheduling a ton of appointments, but we might be available in a common space in the school. So we'll let you know when and where that will be, just so we can answer all your questions and make sure that you feel like totally prepared to submit your course requests and happy with what you've chosen. And as a final reminder, they're due February 13th. So we really need you to get them in by that day. This QR code, this is our very last slide, and I just wanted to put this up here so you can, with your teacher's permission, pull out your phone, scan the QR code. This is going to take you to the course planning website that we have for RE Mountain. So that way, if you wanted to start browsing and checking out some of these documents I've mentioned, like our course catalog, or that one-page document that I've got a copy of right here, I'll just remind you that this is the one-pager that is pretty handy. That's also right on the website for you if you need any help. So thank you so much for paying attention. And I look forward to chatting with you if you're one of my students, or if you're not, then the other counselors would be happy to answer your questions for you as well. So thanks everyone, and good luck.